Today we'll talk about arrays, and that will cover layering outcome number 2. We'll have to explain the main concept of array and what is the array variable means, and how we declare and initialize an array, how do we access the element in an array, updating it or printing it or do something to it. And also we will practice using two loops. One is called for and the other one is called for each loop, in order to access these array elements in the array. The last thing we're gonna look is to look at the concept of two-dimensional array instead of one-dimensional array. So basically, when you identify any variable, the variable will be just a single variable. It will contain only what? It will contain only one value, and that should be enough. Okay, and that should be enough. Now, if you identify one variable and you say, for example, integer x, and this means that you will have in the memory a space for x, and the x will contain some value, only one value. If you want to change the value, you have to change it in the code. So you say x now equal 2, okay, x equal 2, and then you do something to it, and after that you say x equal 3, and so on. So it's one space that you need to work on it, and the name of the space is x. Okay, but what about if we want to assign like more than one value to the x? If I want x to contain 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and so on, this is a problem. Look at this, for example, here, string rock band equal Joe. Okay, string rock band equal Paul, string rock band equal ed, string rock band equal Rob. The last value will be saved in this rock band is what? Is Rob. Okay, these will not be saved, because when I say equal Joe, now it's become Joe. Okay, now it's become Joey. If I say equal Paul, the second statement, it will delete Joey and it will become Paul. Alright, and if I say Ed equal Ed, it will delete Paul and also equal Ed. And if I say equal Rob, it will delete Ed, and the final value will be what? Will be Rod. So what happened to the previous value? This is a problem. Okay, this is a problem. We cannot use a single value to hold more than one value. But imagine that if you have an x, and x contain what? An x contain like 300 value, or x contain more than like 1,000 value. Okay, if you want to change it manually like this, that means how many lines do you need in the code? You need a few lines. Okay, you need a few lines, right? So it is time consuming, and instead of that we can use the array in Java. What is the array? Array is just a variable, okay, similar to x. It just holds more than one variable, similar to this one. I have the array. If I say integer array, integer like this, x. Now x will hold one value. If I want x to hold more than one value, I would say this. This will become an array. So x, I can put in the x equal 27, 12, 82, 70, 754, 1, 300, and so on. These are called what? These are all called elements. Okay, and if starting from 0, these are called index. So 27 is index number 0, and 12 is index number 1. 1 here is in index number 5. Okay, and 30 here in 80 in index number 6. So each number will be given what? Index. So if I want to print number here 1, I should say x what? X 5. If I want to change it, I said x5 equals 6. If I want to print it, I should use the index between these two things, 5. Okay, so it's similar to the single variable, but you have to specify the index for the variable here. The index is starting from 0 to the size of the array. Okay. Now each element, each one number here is called element. So if you have integer, they all will be integer. If you have a string, they all will be string. So the array can be only one type. Alright, the array can be only one type, similar to the variable. If you identify variable as a string, as an integer, sorry, you cannot store string in it. Similar to the array, if you identify it as an integer, you cannot say that xl5 equal x5 here equal a. That's incorrect. That is incorrect. Okay, similar to the variable rules. Now, if you want to access the element, as I said, this is the array. Okay, start, the first index will be 0 always, and the last index will be the size of the array minus 1. So what's the size? The start index will be what? Always the start from 0. The end index or the final index will be the size minus 1. So here, for example, what's the size? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 places. 10 places. This one can hold 10 numbers here. That can hold 10 number. So the end will be 10 minus 1, which equal to 9, which is the last index. Okay, so I can use index from 0 to 9. This is the size of the array. The element will be inside here. Okay, the element will be stored inside the memory. This is a very simple implementation of the array. Now this is an example of the array. Okay, this is array holding integer values. This array can hold string. You can put string in the array, that's fine. Any type you want. This one array is a type, is a class student. This array is a student class. It can store the whole class in the array. How? So I can build an array of anything. This one is similar when you say integer x, but instead of x, I just said integer x array, and here instead of saying string day, instead of saying only string day, I'll just use as a string. Okay, and here we used to say student, remember last class, student s1 equal student s1, and instead of student I just make it an array like this. So it could be any primitive type, it could be non-primitive type such as string, it could be array of classes or objects. All right, it is similar to the variable. How you declare an array? Well, you took that, you put the type first. The type could be primitive such as integer, string, and so on. Could be non-primitive, integer, double, character, and so on. It could be also non-primitive such as string, and you need to put these to make sure to indicate this is an array. This one indicate this is an array, and then you put the name of the variable. This is the name of the variable. This is the name of the variable, and as I said, it's just a normal variable. You can name it and a name. Now this one is the bracket is indicating it's an array. This is an example. For example, we have double and array, and the name of the array is what? Temperature. Okay, so that the data type is double, and this is an array. If I remove this one, it will not be an array. Okay, and the name of the array is what? Temperature. And the name of the array is temperature. Now another example, and you can declare the array in two types. You can put the bracket after the integer, you can put it after the variable name. That should be not a problem. I could say integer x, and I use the array here, And I could do it in the other way. I could say integer and I put x and I use it right here. But we prefer this way. Okay, we prefer this way. All right, we prefer this way. It's more readable. So I'm just saying an integer of array of integer rather than integer of the variable array. So it's better to use the first one. It's more convenient and more meaningful. But if you put it anywhere, that should be no problem at all. Now, when you declare an array like this, it is not enough. You have to specify the size of the array. In Java, before you start, you have to specify how many number you will store in the array, and you cannot change it after that. Okay, so basically here it's not enough. We haven't finished yet, and you have to tell Java what is the size of the array. Now if you leave it like this, Java will give you a syntax error, and that's a problem. Okay, now you could also use the array. Now if you define you could use the array anywhere, but if you specify the size of the array as 5, you are not able to store 6 or 7 or 8 numbers in there. So this is the problem. You can specify the size by when you identify the array. So here, for example, I wanted to identify an array of integer that hold 100 numbers, 100 integer number. I could do it this way: integer, and this is an array, and my integer array, and then after that I will say my integer array is equal to new integer 100. So I specify the size. The size here is 100. Now I did that in 2 statements. If you did not use this and you start using the array, Java will give you an error, right? And the shortcut, you can write it in 1 line. You can just do it integer array. The name of the array is my integer equal new integer. So just put them in 1 line if you want. All right. But if you wanna, you don't know how many numbers in the array, you could just declare it first, and before you use it, you can specify the size of it later on. All right, before you start using it. Okay, great. Now this is some of the code. So for example, here I could say integer age equal new integer 3. I can set up the value by saying age is 0, because when you say this means that you have a variable in the memory like this, and the variable name is age, and that contain 3 spaces. Okay, this is index 0, this is index 1, and this is index number 2. So there's 3 values, and the size is 3. So the first index is 0, the last index is 2. If I want to put number here, I would say age, and I give the index like this. Age is 0 equal 19. So that will put 19 here. And if I want to put in the second one, the same way, I have to give the index 1, 42. And the same way for the place number, third place, I could put 92 by specifying the index 92. Now you cannot say age equal 92. It's not a variable anymore. It is an array. So you have to specify what? You have to specify the index where you're going to save it, in the first place, second place, third place, and so on. So another example of a string, if I have create a name for 3 student or 4 student, I ask you to create like 4 student or 3 student, you are not going to create 4 variable, one called student name 1 and name 2, name 3, name 4. No, you create an array called names like this. Okay, and this is called names. And in this array you will have 3 spaces, because here you specify that it is 3. And when you start saying name is 0 equal Mary, Mary will be saved in the first place. And you say Bob, Bob will be in the second place, and Carlos in the second and third place. So this is how you save the value. So you have to specify the name of the array first, the index where you want to save the value, and then after that you can put the value. Similar to that. If you want to print it, that's simple. I just say system dot out dot print or println. It depends how you want to use it. Okay, and you can use what, instead of writing name only, names, you have to specify the index. I want to print number 3, for example, and that will gives you number 3 only. Okay, if you say only names, that will give you an error, because that will print the location in the memory and will be like hexadecimal values, and you will not be able to understand that. But you want the value, you have to specify the index of the variable. Now when you initialize it, you can initialize it, you can just like this without values and give the value later on like this, or you can give the value directly here. See that? I can specify the value like integer age equal, there's no new. Okay, so when you say 3, you put 3 values, that means the size of the array is what? 3. Here you put 3 variable, that means the size is 3. So instead of saying 3 like this way, instead of doing it this way, age integer equal 3, and you put the value, you could just do it directly like this, integer, and like this, age equal, and you use this bracket 19 and 42 and 92, and you close it like this. So this is same as the whole thing here. If you wanna initialize it and you know the variable inside it, you can just do it in the first one. Similar to this one, you can just instead of all these things like this, you could just say what? You could just say string, okay, names, and don't forget to make it an array like this. Use equal, and you put the value here, Mary, and don't forget this is string, so you have to put quotation. It's similar to this way. This is declaration and initialization at the same time exactly. Now if you wanna print out the element array, you have to specify the index. Okay, so for example, if I have another variable, if I identify an age array like this is the age array. It's contain 3 values. One is 25 and one is 27, and the last one is 48. I have another variable called my age. I could save into my age. This is age is variable. This is my age. So my age is just a normal variable with one place only to save anything. If I want to save the first one in it, I could just want to save 25. I use age index 0, right? And also the same thing, if I want to save the second one in another variable, okay, I could use the same way by specifying the index. And this is just a variable. If you want to print it, you can just use the index. Okay, you can use if you want to change it, you can just say what? You can say age, for example 2 equal 54, and that will make it change the value inside the array. This is how does it work. Okay, now you can also, if you do this, if you specify the array like this and you want to change the variable, you can specify the index as I said and give it the name of the variable. Now Mary will be moved because Mary in index 0, Bob in index 1, and Carlos in index 2. If you say names is 0 equal Gary, that will remove Mary from here and put Gary instead of it. And the same thing 1, if you say 1 equal Rob, that will take the value here and store it instead of Bob. So that will be the final values of the array. I changed the values in index 1 and index 0 as well. Alright, but index 2 still the same, I haven't changed it yet. Now, if you initialize an array and it's an integer, what's the initial value inside the array will be? Example, okay, if I create an array like this, and this array contains 5 elements, these are the values in the array, 5 elements. I did not store anything inside it yet, so the default value will be 0 because it's an integer, because that's an integer. If it's double, it will be 0.0. For the number, the default value is 0. Okay, for the string, it's not space, it is null. Okay, null means nothing. All right, now the size of the array we already agree. Okay, if I say like this and without specifying the size here, and I put number, then I specify the size. The size will be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, will be 7. Right, if I want to print the size of the array, I will use this value, dot length. Will be use this dot length. Right, so and also you can you can print the dot length of the array, and that will print the size of the array. Okay, that will print the size of the array. Here we have 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So the size of the array will be what? 8, because I have 8 numbers. 8 numbers. It starts from 0. Okay, this is the first index. Alright, this is the last index. Alright, and the size of the array will be 8. Always the last index equal the size minus 1. Always.